Hi everybody, and welcome back once again to the channel. So in today's episode I thought I'd just give you guys a quick update on where we are with the Kangoo van and of course obviously the Jag. So I'll quickly just mention the Kangoo first of all because it's not going to take overly long. As you can see, it's parked over there. Not much to say other than it's actually been sold. It's going to be handed over to another owner in the next few days or so. He's already paid the money for it and should be coming to collect it midweek, so it'll be obviously sad to see that particular vehicle go. It's been quite a faithful friend for a few years now. It's had only a few things of course fixed on it that I've documented on the channel already. But it's been a pretty good van, but time to move on. It's been sat stationary for a number of months now. It's not really getting used at the minute, and as it's developed a couple of electrical issues, and I just really haven't got the patience all the time to be messing about with it, so it's going to be handed over to somebody else to hopefully try and get fixed and get back on the road, and obviously hopefully they'll enjoy using it. But that's that. So the only other thing really to speak about, which will be for the majority of this episode, is where we are with the Jag. So let's of course start first of all from where we left off on the previous episode and the much needed welding work on this car. Right, so as you can tell, there's been quite a fair bit of welding work. Of course there was some massive holes in the driver's footwell. They've all been patched up and painted, and it's the same story of course in the passenger's footwell as well. Dave's done a fantastic piece of work in getting all of this done, and the same obviously on there as well. You know, it was like a Flintstone car in here, and it's certainly looking a lot better now. He's also done the bottoms of the sills, as you can see, chassis rails. There's a bit of work that's been done at the back, and then also he's done some work on the jacking points. That's what one of them looks like on the back, so he really has done a terrific piece of work. You okay there, little man? Now, the other interesting thing that developed this car when it came to try to start it up was the error message that appeared on the dashboard. So as you can see, when we turn the key, the error message on the display there is now not coming on. And when I try and start the car, it starts up perfectly. Now, it wasn't quite as simple as that. There is a little bit of a backstory as to what actually happened when it came to collecting the car after the welding work had been carried out. So of course I went to the garage to go and collect the car. Now, when I got into it to try to start it, it wouldn't start. Now, some of you possibly may know that this car does have a bit of an issue with the starter motor, and there have been a number of occasions where I've had to use the mallet and a stick, and I've had to strike the side of that starter motor in order to get it to engage properly. However, like what was happening on the day when I was stripping the interior out, doing the striking on that starter motor was not working either, and I was thinking that I was back to square one again, and I got a loose plug or a loose wire. Spent about the next half an hour searching round the interior, around the engine bay, looking to see if I could find something that looked, you know, untoward. But unfortunately at the time I couldn't, and I was rapidly running out of time. I needed to get back to get little man sorted out, so I asked Russ if he could connect me up to the tow rope that I'd got in the boot so that I could be pulled across the yard and to try to get the Jaguar bump started, which very kindly he did for me. The car did start, but unfortunately it wasn't the end of the electrical issues for me to discover. So the next thing that I noticed was on the display dashboard. So I had a warning light for failed bulbs. I had a warning light to say that my coolant in the reservoir and the radiator was at a critical level. And because it was raining and I went to turn on the windscreen wipers, they weren't working either. So I was having a nightmare and thinking, what on earth is now going on? So not only now have I got a dicky starter, but I've got a whole array of electrical problems that have since developed. And I of course was thinking the very worst and wondering, where on earth do we start with this? So I backed the car into the garage in order for me to put back what bits of the carpet I could to get the driver's seat bolted in and get the seat belt bolted to the side of the seat. Now, whilst I was backing the car into the garage in order to get some shelter from the rain, I suddenly noticed as well that my speedometer was also not working. Now, that was, of course, the fourth electrical discovery, and thinking, of course, there could be plenty more still wrong with this car. So as you can imagine, my enthusiasm was plummeting quite rapidly at that moment. So of course I had to get yet another bump start once I'd got the seat and everything bolted into the car. So Russ once again towed me out of the garage. We got the thing fired up and it was now a case of getting home. Now, the drive home itself was, as you can imagine, pretty sketchy. It was still spitting with rain, and with half my lights and crucially no windscreen wipers working, it was not the nicest of drives home for me. But we did get the car back onto the drive, and it was at that point then that I started to do some investigating, and I got straight on the phone to my dad. Now, the reason why I rang my dad was because I'm conscious that he has got quite a, thanks Reg, an extensive knowledge of the wiring system, and he's got a load of wiring diagrams all printed off. Now, because he's got the same car as me, that was the reason why he'd got them, and they were about to prove particularly useful. You all right, mate? Now, crucially, my dad said to us that he thinks that there is a connection between all of the electrical issues that had developed with the car, and that they were all seemingly going into one particular fuse box. This one. So here are the fuses for a number of the electrical components. Crucially, the ones that were not working at the time when I was speaking with my dad, as I say, we'd got now the starter, a load of the lights, on the left hand side they were, the windscreen wiper, and also the speedometer, all of them not working. But crucially, all of the wiring going to each of those was going into this loom just down here, and to the fuses in this box. Taking out a number of them and having a look at which ones obviously related to those electrical circuits, it was clear to see that there was nothing wrong with those fuses, which pointed down a potential issue to the wiring loom itself. So having discovered that there was no issues with any of the fuses, and also seemingly no issue with the connection for the wiring loom in the engine bay, it only pointed to one thing. the wiring loom plug in the car.
Now, I'm not sure about other car manufacturers, but Jaguar certainly has got a habit of doing this. Hello again, Reggie. So, this particular Jaguar of mine is quite a fairly low spec. There's quite a number of things that are not in this particular car that are in a lot of other Jaguar models. Some of the things include, you can do, mate. Some of the things include the cruise control and heated front windscreen. Now, what seems to happen is that they tend to leave a number of plugs. Of course, if those particular things are not included, they have the plugs unplugged because there's nothing for them to plug into. Now, because you're obviously, when you're trying to inspect and look at electrical systems in cars like this, you tend to find yourself discovering plugs not going to certain places and just hung freely. This one here, a particular example, this black one, it doesn't go anywhere. Now, whatever that particular plug is meant to be for on this wiring loom, if it's obviously missing on this particular Jaguar, who knows where it goes. Obviously it goes somewhere on a particular spec, not sure which. It's just obviously missing off this car. But if you've got that situation where you're looking for potentially one plug that's causing the electrical issues that I'm experiencing at this point in time, you're wondering, what on earth am I going to be looking for here? I've got a sea of plugs unplugged that I don't know if they are deliberately unplugged because the electrical item is missing on this particular car, or the plug has either been not put back or has been somehow by accident knocked out. And I don't even know where to start. However, I then discovered something. So one plug that really stood out for me was in here. Pulling this back, it was this one. Now, obviously at this point in time, you can see it's plugged in. But when I discovered it, it wasn't. It was hanging down here loosely. Now, as soon as I put this plug in, put the harness strap down to get it into place, I then checked a number of electrical components that weren't working at the time. Sure enough, things started working. We started the car, it struck up instantly. I looked at the lights that were not working at the time, they were all illuminated. The windscreen wipers started working, and also the coolant level warning light on the dashboard was now no longer illuminated. So we had all the electrics back. Happy days. And my enthusiasm from being smack on the ground was now back up again. So this is the stage that we're at now. So this is of course now going to be a case of putting together the enormous jigsaw that I've got left. We've not only got to get this passenger seat in, we've got to get the carpets all fitted properly. There are a number of trim pieces and clips and rubbers and trim bits and all sorts of little things like that. But there are of course a few more other crucial parts. We've got a front grille to fit, new front wings to fit. There's also a brake binding issue on the offside front wheel. I'm expecting it to be hopefully just brake pads and nothing more, but of course we'll have to do some inspection. The Droplink pins for the rear anti-roll bar are also in a bad condition. So as you can see from this image here, when the car was on the lifting ramp and I was able to do a proper inspection of them, you can see that not only are they very rusty, but the rubbers are also perished. I have got a new set of those and I'm looking to get those fitted at a later date. There is also a faulty indicator bulb, I can't remember which side it is now, that was emitting white light,
I suspect it's probably just a case of that the orange coating on the bulb itself is of poor condition, probably flaked off. Simply need to put a replacement on that. Now, from a legality and MOT point of view, that's pretty much it. But there are, of course, a handful of other cosmetic issues that I am wanting to address with this car. Now, the first is, of course, something that has been bugging me and bugging a number of you guys, is this god-awful headliner, which definitely needs replacing. The next thing concerns these things. The original Jaguar dimple wheels. Now, whilst they are the original wheels for the car, they're not my preferred type. The ones that I really like are my XJR wheels. You did burp. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a very good reason as to why these were put onto the car prior to its MOT. I didn't just get one puncture, I got 2 punctures. So of course I'm going to have to get some new tyres for these 2 at some point as well. So that's where we are with both the Kangoo and the Jag. Kangoo, yes. That's going to be obviously collected in the next few days by the new owner. And we've obviously had some pretty good progress with the Jag. So there'll be obviously some videos coming up of me doing all the various repairing and putting back of all the various bits and pieces. So they'll be coming up over the course of the next few videos. But before we wrap up, I just want to just pass on a massive thanks to Dave for doing all the incredible work on welding the Jag and getting it in a really good spot. He's done an excellent job and I'm really pleased with it, and hopefully it should of course mean that it'll certainly be kept on the road for a little bit longer anyway. And of course to Russ for giving me an assistance with getting the Jag bump started so that I could get the car home in the first place. So massive thanks to both of you guys for all of your support and your help in doing that. It's greatly appreciated. Right, okay then, so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Do what Reggie's doing if you did not like the video. Thank you very much, you cheeky little boy. If of course you want to put forward any comments, let us know what you thought of the work, thoughts on, you know, the Kangoo going, anything on what of any advice that you want to give to us would be greatly appreciated. And if you would like to support me and Reggie on our journey and on the channel, then please hit the subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. If you could, give us a fist bump, little man. Bang. All the help that you guys give to us really does go a long way. So if you could do that for us, we'd really appreciate it. So yeah, this one was just obviously a very quick video and just some progress. We'll be back to resuming to normal bits and pieces in the upcoming episodes. So until next time, guys, thanks very much for tuning in and your continued support, and we shall see you very soon. Take care of yourselves. See you later now. Bye bye. Are you waving? Bye.
We do miss it, don't we, pal? We do like the Jag, don't we? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Right. Okie dokie. What have you done? Have you just headbutted the steering wheel? Congratulations.